IRWM round 2 project discussion. Of course, we just finished a meeting on that. I'm not sure exactly, Lynn and Laura, what you want to cover there, but I assume that's your agenda item.
Well, I think this is an opportunity to open it up to the floor, to the group, those stakeholders and members to share if there's any, I think starting with if there's any project ideas, projects that are aware of that are planning to submit for round 2. This is a time maybe to kind of share that with the group. And of course, we will be reviewing those projects once they're officially submitted. We'll be reviewing them on August 25th at our August 25th meeting. But we have, this is a shortened timeline a little bit. We don't have a lot of time to continue discussing projects. So that's a pretty critical meeting. And this is an opportunity to kind of just let the group know, each other know what types of projects we can anticipate reviewing at that August 25th meeting. So I don't know if there's any water agencies, members of different cities, or some of our nonprofit organizations that are considering or thinking about applying. And also as an opportunity for us to, for others to hear about project ideas that are being submitted. And of course, we always look for opportunities to kind of coordinate too on projects. I think it was mentioned earlier about adding environmental benefits when possible, or public outreach to projects, just because the projects might not be scored as there's scoring is not emphasized as much in this round because of the predetermined funding split. Doesn't mean that we don't want to consider, having really well-rounded multi-benefit projects to submit as well. So with that, I'm going to open it up. Does anyone want to jump in with a project that you're considering submitting or are working on for this round? So we've got somebody stepping up to the mic here.
That's me, sorry.
Right as she was trying to eat, so I apologize.
Yes, the city has been working in concert with. Am I good? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Betsy Cooper. I'm the Assistant General Manager of Ventura Water for the City of Ventura. And we have been working on the State Water Interconnection Project. This has been going on for quite a while, been in the works. And so we are working in concert with Cayugas Municipal Water District and Casitas and United on this project. And I don't know what kind of details you want of it, but we have, we completed in the CEQA document a couple of years ago, both Casitas or Cayugas, a portion of the project is Cayugas Municipal Water District is taking the lead on about a third of it. City of Ventura is taking the lead of design and construction of about 2/3 of it. We're both in preliminary design and working through all the agreements, right-of-way easement acquisitions we'll be needing, and looking forward to the day the project is constructed. So we will be submitting that as a project.
A little bit more about what the benefits of the project would be?
Sure. So the project is an interconnection between Cayugas and the City of Ventura system. So for Cayugas, the benefit is an emergency interconnection. So at times when there's an outage of water from Metropolitan Water District, they can receive water from the City of Ventura during those times. As far as the City of Ventura, it also provides an emergency internet connection with Cayugas. It also allows us to receive our state water entitlement that we've had rights to since 1971 that we haven't been able to receive because we have no way to get the water. The other thing it helps us with is some water quality needs in our east side of our city. We do have a disadvantaged community there, Sataquay neighborhood. So we have, that area is served primarily by, or entirely by groundwater, and this would help reduce the hardness of the water in that area. As far as casitas, they also would be allowed to obtain their allocations of their state water entitlement that they've also had rights to since 1971. It would be an exchange agreement that we're working on right now with them, which basically means they would take their state water entitlement and that would be used instead of us taking that equivalent amount of water from Lake Casitas. So it benefits the lake. And then United, they also have an entitlement. They can right now get their entitlement in a indirectly through from Pyramid Lake. They can float water down to Lake Piru, but there are some inefficiencies there. So they would also have a connection to this pipeline and have the ability to take allocations from it also. So it would provide another water source into the county that obviously we know they right now the entitlements are very low if you do have a state water entitlement, but it is a water source that just helps us all diversify the county's water system by providing a new water source. There have been times when there's been a lot of water in Northern California and entitlements or the allocations have been fairly high and we've still been in drought. I think in 2017, the entitlements were allocations were 85% of our entitlements. But we were still in a drought in this time. So it's really another source that's not dependent on the climate of our area. And that we'd be able to use to help just diversify the water side supply portfolio in the county. And when I say percentages, the city has an entitlement of 10,000 acre feet per year. United and Casitas both have entitlements of 5,000 acre feet per year. And I think anybody who deals with state water knows that every year your actual allocation depends on how much water and snowpack there is in Northern California, basically. So this year, even if we did have a connection and allocations are only 5% of entitlement. So even with this 10,000 acre feet allocate or entitlement, we'd only have rights to 500 acre feet this year. So hopefully.
I have a question for you, Betsy, about that. So could the pipeline be used for other purposes of exchanging water within the county, not related to state water?
Yes. So there has been, yes. But there would definitely be whoever pays for it, then there'd be, if there's purposes, but it does allow for an emergency connection in the west side of the county for the main, there would be a hierarchy who can use it, but it would provide a nice pipeline through the county for some emergency purposes.
Thank you. As to this project, I saw there was a question in the chat. I think that it's really, I believe it's related to this project. Candace asked, what's the status of the CWIN litigation?
Oh.
And are projects subject to litigation, even if currently undecided, eligible to apply for funding?
Good question. I mean, we do, our CEQA document was legally challenged and that lawsuit is going on. There's been, so far the courts have ruled in our favor, but then, there's always the appeal process. So they have appealed the court decision. And so we're going through the appeal process right now. And I can't remember dates right now on when the next occurring, but we did just have to submit a responding brief. And so we're hoping to have that resolved soon, but that is still in the works.
Lynn, are you aware if there's anything that prevents a project from receiving or applying for funding pertaining to like a current litigation, like on the CEQA or, I think.
I'm not aware of
I'm-
that, but my question would be adjudication. Does that have any impact on the adjudication in the, or the, no, what the right word for it is, the litigation going on in the Ventura River watershed over groundwater and surface water?
No, no, those two unrelated.
Yeah.
Related to the Intertech project.
No, right. Okay, but you're in that process and that's not a precluding factor for grant.
What's not the Seawin or the Ventura
No,
River?
the Ventura River,
We're in mediation for that.
Okay,
and
so-
that's, yeah,
it shouldn't be a roadblock to getting grant funding.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, Lynn, I think we should clarify both of those because, I mean, the whole CEQA challenge to this project was that the financial investment does not guarantee an allocation to state water. And if you look at the trends that, and as was highlighted, you'd only be getting like 500 acre feet, and then is a multi-million-dollar project really that helpful from a water resiliency point of view? Yeah, and I would hate for other projects that could get funded because this is a question mark on what the outcome of the CEQA challenge will be, to not be funded because this gets put into our project suite. As you know, if people vote for that, it does go through to be part of the project suite. Then other projects could also maybe not lose out an opportunity for funding.
That's, I think, well noted, and I appreciate the question and the comment arising that, you know, to the Watershed Committee to consider, think about. I don't know if we have a direct answer. I see EJ said, yeah, it would, you know, EJ confirmed it would be helpful to get input on litigation issues from the state prior to project selections. I think we've made a note of that, see what we can do on that front in terms of just getting clarification.
I see Gerard has his hand up.
Thank you, EJ. I've been patiently waiting. So my question to Betsy is sort of definitional. Is the intent by the three large wholesale agencies to essentially propose a regional project that has benefit throughout? Because clearly from an operational interconnectivity point of view, this effectively allows for wheeling. But those of us who have been around here back in the 90s, remember the days when $200 an acre foot state water was eventually wheeled from Metropolitan all the way up to Santa Barbara County through a series of ad hoc connections, interconnections. But by the time it got there, it was at $2,200 an acre feet because of wheeling charges imposed for you know, perhaps very logical reasons in terms of the impact. But so my question is, I guess the question is just to understand the thinking. Is it going to be like a regional project, and with what kind of quantitative amount would be seeking through this grant? So Betsy, if you could just add a little bit of insight into that, it would be helpful to understand the current thinking among the three major water wholesalers about this interconnectivity project.
I guess I'm not quite sure exactly what your question is. It seems like there is a couple things in there. First of all, as far as the cost of water, yeah, it's not going to be cheap water. We do the connection. It's only a 7-mile pipeline, where back when this was, you know, back in the 70s when they talked about a direct line all the way from Castaic Lake. So it would have been like a 40-mile pipeline with a treatment plant that would have been needed. So the fact that this is now only a 7-mile pipeline and Cayugas is going to be paying for a portion of it makes it very cost effective. However, the water itself this connection point means it gets wheeled through Metropolitan Water District and Cayugas' system. So we are paying wheeling charges for that. The benefit to the city is that it's already treated water, so we are paying for treated water through the system and don't have to build a treatment plant to treat the water. So that's as far as the cost of water. It won't be cheap water. So in addition to our state water delivery charges from the state, we do have to pay Metropolitan and Cayugas for wheeling charges. So that's wheeling. I can't, what, do you have another question?
I'm sorry if my point was not editorial. It was just a historical, that sometimes conveyance projects can be as expensive or more expensive than new supply acquisition projects. That's just the nature of the beast when we're dealing with complex issues such as this. The interconnectivity benefit is obvious in the general sense, right? The more we interconnect, the more adaptively we can handle whatever shortfalls, man-made or natural or whatever happens. And so it's difficult for anyone who is serious about ensuring that water is available to everybody throughout the county when they need it to oppose an interconnectivity. The question my asking, or what I'm trying to get at, is what's the current thinking about this particular grant round? Will there be a single regional proposal, and what's the estimated cost of that proposal, or will there be a separate proposal from each of the three major water wholesalers in each of the three watersheds that effectively accomplishes that by another means?
In fact, I just talked to Christine about this. We haven't talked too much, so I don't know the details, but I think the intent is we are going to be submitting as two separate projects because they are going to be built, and they're being built and designed separately. So it's just more easier for us to do it that way.
Gotcha.
And I think easier for the whole administration of the grants to do it that way.
Okay, that answers one part of the question. What would be the quantitative amount of the application that you'd be looking at for those two projects?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet on that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just trying to understand.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right. Asking tough questions out of the gate, but keep in mind, we do only have till August 1st to submit. So we'll welcome all of that. It does get us a little closer and gives an idea of what the conversation might be also when we do review them. So I see Candace and Gerard, you both have your hands up. I'm going to assume
sorry.
that's still from before. Or
Yes,
Candace, did you have something further?
I just had one more comment. While we're looking into guidance about, ongoing litigation, I'd recommend that you also follow up. I believe when this project came to LAFCO, there were restrictions on what the amount of water wheeling was. So I don't know if currently LAFCO has authorized the amount of water that these projects want to wheel. So that might be another regulatory or authorization hurdle that needs to be clarified.
LAFCO, we did deal with LAFCO during the CEQA process, and they have I can't remember the specifics of it right now, but they are not opposed to any of this and don't have any regulations.
I was with Supervisor Parks's office at the time, and the way I understood it was they didn't have any oppositions to the current amount of water allocations with regards to the diameters of the pipes for wheeling. But from what I recall is that this project was actually proposing to wheel more water, and that might be subject to another authorization. So that I'm just saying, like, my memory on it is this was obviously some time ago, but it needs to be clarified for the group to consider all the limitations.
Okay, thank you for the comment. I'll try to note that, think about how that might be addressed, at least in the project form, or be prepared to answer questions, I guess, about that in August. Are there any questions regarding this project? Or comments? Thank you, Betsy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for the questions too.
Are there any others that want to mention a project they're considering or, fairly certain that they'll be applying for, submitting that relates to the Santa Clara River watershed. Maybe it's regional or specific to Santa Clara.
Okay, my hand's still up. I'm sorry. Candace here with Branson Santa Clara River. We've submitted 2 projects to the plan. One of them is GDE, groundwater dependent ecosystem analysis, to support Sigma and GSAs. I don't know if we're going to be moving on that project for this round. One project that I am going to be seeking board approval for is our other project, which was a regional, basically a water resiliency plan where we assess all the water infrastructure and restoration type projects that are in a 5 to 10 year timeline in the county and in the upper Santa Clara River watershed. And then working on a cost benefit analysis of those to try and prioritize how we invest these IRWM and other water related funding opportunities moving forward. So like what the discussion that we just had about CWIN, like if you look at the benefit of the water and the financial investment required, are there other projects that might score higher, and actually developing what that scoring criteria is as a group. So the idea would be to actually develop a technical advisory committee with partners in the room and help guide that process so that we soundly investing funding into water infrastructure solutions for resiliency.
Candace, I have a question about that. Do you think, have you looked at the guidelines to see if that would qualify as a decision tool?
So
Is that
I'm
what you're
thinking
asking
it's
for?
either that or the last one that was on your slide. So I need to go through the guidelines and confirm which one. But I like initially I'm thinking it's going to be a decision tool, like a policy guidance document.
Okay.
Thank you. And when you said that those are projects you've submitted, so those, it sounds like were projects, if I recall, that were submitted in the 2018 call for projects and are currently in the IRWM plan. I don't know if you plan to update, make any modifications to those and resubmit them. As keep in mind, or as a reminder, they unfortunately do have to be resubmitted through the new project portal. So you can cut and paste quite a bit of that information. But for those interested, I just want to confirm for those interested, you can find those projects right now then in the IRWM plan. Is that correct?
Well, we submitted it, so it's on the Excel spreadsheet that Lynn provided, but I am probably going to update it because I do think the description needs revision with regards to the new guidelines.
Yeah, those are all in the plan.
So yes, yeah, okay. Yeah, so those are in the plan and can be found on WCVC's website on the current list of projects, at least the draft from 2018. Thank you, Candace.
Yeah, and thanks for prompting us to remind everybody that even if your project is already in the plan, if you want round 2 funding, you do need to resubmit. We would like everybody to resubmit all their projects if they're willing, but it does take some time to cut and paste your data from the PDF form into the portal. But for sure, if you want money in round 2, you'll need to do that.
EJ here. We're kind of getting a little bit behind schedule, but a comment that Meredith made in the last meeting was kind of an interest to me. She talked about there can be reductions or benefits from depending on the percentage that your project benefits a disadvantaged community. And that made me think about partnerships again. For example, I think Christine talked about small mutual water company needs some fire hydrants. They don't have funding for that. It might be worthwhile for a larger agency that's applying for a grant to include some a project like that, and hopefully the discount that they would get, on the match requirement might offset any trouble or additional cost by including that additional project, if that makes sense.
So we have a history of that, actually. I don't know if you remember, EJ, that Casitas Municipal Water District took a project, sort of sponsored a project for Senior Canyon Mutual Water Company. That was back in Prop 50. I believe that was the last time we had something like that. And I think that relates back to the discussion about for those smaller systems that don't have capacity. There was also, another issue is the potential consolidation of mutual water companies with larger companies if they, all parties agree. And that was a project submitted by the Casitas Mutual Water Company, and I see Christine is on here, requesting consolidation with Casitas Municipal Water District. So there's sort of many ways that the capacity of smaller systems and the people they serve can be augmented, either through an application like you're describing, a sponsorship situation, or actual consolidation, which I know is a whole different matter and a lot more challenging.
So unless
In
somebody
mind.
wants to do a brief, another brief project description, we're getting behind the agenda. So please raise your hand or come to the podium. Okay, I don't see anything, but there's going to be a lot more meetings and discussions about these projects. The next item on our agenda is to appoint a new alternative representative to represent the Santa Clara River Watershed on the steering committee. And right now, the regular representatives are Tony Emmerich from United and me, E.J. Remsen from the Nature Conservancy. But we've always had an alternate in case one of us couldn't participate, so we'd have full representation on the committee. And our last one was Nina Danza, who can no longer serve. And so we need to appoint another one. And so what we're doing here is, I think we have one person who's already thrown their name in the ring, but if there's others that would like to serve as the alternate, yeah, if you could please speak up, and then Lynn and Laura, once we know who the interested parties are, maybe we can have just a quick kind of no objections kind of thing, or a vote.
Yeah. So first, is there anybody interested or any questions about, somebody that might be interested, what that means to be on the steering committee? And their main task, the most important charge, especially in the next few months, is to carry forward the recommendations of this, our entire committee to the WCVC steering committee to help with the project selection, the full suite of projects for our region. Seeing nobody else jumping in with questions. I know we have, like I said, as EJ said, had one person who has nobly volunteered. Is it interested? That's Jody Schweitzer from the Farm Bureau, who was here in the room. I don't know, Jody, if you wanted to say anything about that. I know I've explained also there's a meeting schedule. We've got several meetings in the next couple months, and I've already clarified that Jody's aware of that and willing and able to fill in if needed for the two other steering committee members.
So yeah, hi everybody. Jody Schweitzer, I'm the Water Programs Director with the Farm Bureau of Ventura County. And I manage the VCALG program, which is the Agricultural Discharge Program for the county. And, over the years have been an active participant in this watershed group and the other watershed groups in the county as well. And as Laura said, I am interested and willing to serve as an alternative on the steering committee.
We've had Farm Bureau representation on the steering committee in the past. When Dale Zarowski was she was also the VCALG water quality representative, and she was a full steering committee member. That's been a while, but great to have Farm Bureau back.
So could anyone who, I guess probably the easiest thing is, has any objection to this, either raise your hand online or wave your arms in the room. We're not seeing anything here, so I think Jody's on board. Congratulations. Does that sound good to you, Lynn and Laura?
That sounds good. So we appreciate Jody's willingness to participate in that process and attend those extra meetings and represent the watershed committee. So all of you, I know Jody's has already, wrote down those probably meeting dates that Lynn shared earlier, and will be sent a number of calendar invitations, I'm sure, to add to her calendar to attend those. So if keep in mind for those in the watershed committee, if you have questions about the process or also want to talk with your steering committee members, they are EJ Remsen, Tony Emmerich, and alternate Jody Schweitzer. So thank you.
So next on the agenda is something very dear to me, and that's the Hanson Nature Preserve update. And I think Selm was going to do some sort of a presentation and an update on that.
That I am, EJ. Hi, everybody. Good morning. So nice to be with you all today. It's nice to see friends and colleagues. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay, Laura. We'll see if this works. Sorry, 1 minute here. Okay, can everybody see this? Looking good? Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can see it.
All right, good morning. So my name is Kat. I think I know quite a few of you here in the room today, but for those of you who don't know me, I am the land manager for the Nature Conservancy here in Ventura County, managing the Santa Clara River and Coast project. And that means our holdings all along the Santa Clara River and Ormond Beach. And my baby project that I love working on is the Hanson Nature Preserve. It's been a long time in the making. EJ helped kick this off way back in 2015, and it's been chugging along ever since then. We picked it back up in 2019 when we won an award from the California Natural Resources Agency to actually start building the capital improvements to make this happen. And 2 years ago, I gave an introduction to this project to you all. And so I'm here to just update you on the progress and let you know where we are and when it's going to be open, when you can come visit. And my clicker is not working. There we go. Oops. Goodness. Okay. So this is the location of the project area, just for quick reference. We own around 1,000 acres of the north and the south bank here. It's about a mile or so southwest of Santa Paula. Just below the 126, you get off on Briggs Road exit and take Mission Rock Road, which is a private road, down to it kind of dead ends. And the part that's going to be actually improved is only around 250 acres of the site on the north bank, of the Santa Clara River, and it's used to be a gravel and sand mining operation, so it's pretty denuded, and we've been working since I think around 2008 actually was our first small restoration project on the site, and since then we've restored hundreds of acres of riparian floodplain forest on this site. And now it's a thriving riparian ecosystem today with lots of abundant wildlife, and it's just a gorgeous property. So we're really happy to start welcoming the public to it. So just for your remembering here, I showed this a couple of years ago, but I know it's been a while. So the basic architectural drawings of the site are, it's a low impact design for public access. And when we say low impact, we want passive recreation because, as I mentioned, it is a nature preserve that's been restored, and there's a lot of wildlife here, and we'd like to keep it that way. So it's been designed to work within the floodplain. So it's a very floodplain friendly design with gabion baskets and native plantings. We have here a interpretive lunch area where we can accommodate school children and educational features, because we want this to really cater to education. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my computer. And we're also, since we're catering to public education, outdoor environmental ed, we have bus turnaround, permeable pavers. We have lots of native landscaping, some of which is more upland, some is more riparian. So we've created some bioswales to catch stormwater runoff. We have an entryway, and these are just some of the features. I just wanted to give you a little taste and reminder of what we're actually building out here. So we started fundraising for this in 2019, and that's still going on because we have a need for management and environmental ed fundraising well into the future. Outreach started in around 2020, and we've done, I'm going to talk a little bit about the outreach that we've done in the last year, but we've also done 9 different community organizations presented to or had group hikes to 9 different community organizations, and many more are planned. We started construction in spring of 2022, and then we've paused for bird breeding season and are picking it back up this September. So construction will hopefully be completed by the end of this year. And then we plan to be open, actually, this is winter of 2023. It's still kind of a soft date, but we plan to actually be open to the public towards the end of next year. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we got to these types of programming, but what we envision is guided hikes in Spanish and English, busing and programming for local schools, particularly in Santa Paula, possibly Chumash cultural activities, materials, and guided hikes, and a volunteer stewardship base that can help us actually manage the property. And we got to these conclusions by doing the outreach that we've done in the last couple of years. And we also envision this place will be free, open to the public dawn to dusk. So this programming is in addition to this just being a publicly available space to access the Santa Clara. So we assessed community needs by partnering with our partners at Cause. We did 137 surveys in 2020. And these are just some of the results that we found we had to do phone surveys because it was in the height of the pandemic. So it can be a little hard to glean too much from phone surveys, but I think we got a decent understanding of what we wanted to understand, which is what do residents want to do? What do they enjoy? What do they need from a place like this? And we found that respondents were pretty much split on what kinds of areas they enjoy. Punch bowls or Steckel were kind of our 2 comparison sites because this was focused in Santa Paula. 1 out of 5 respondents said that they would need transportation help to get to this site. 82% of respondents said that they're interested in attending guided tours or educational classes. And the most popular outdoor activity for respondents out of these options was hiking and walking, which we found kind of interesting. So these are some of the things that have led us to want to do educational programming, particularly in Spanish, because we know that 94% of Santa Paula School District is Hispanic or Latino, and 82% are socioeconomically disadvantaged, which is why we want to address the busing need. And like I said, we're catering to environmental ed. So that's where the wanting to help with programming. And why do respondents do outdoor activities? I thought this was an interesting one, especially in the height of the pandemic. Probably really influenced the answer to this question. Most respondents said mental health and well-being being a big reason. We also had a community event in 2020, or last year actually, so 2021. We had a nice hike made up of Causes Network in Santa Paula. So it was largely farm workers. It was a all Spanish hike. The event was in Spanish, and we had a dinner afterwards, and it was a lovely time. We had 30 folks, including children, and every person said that they would want to come back. So that was a nice treat to actually be able to do something in person for once. And we're also working on historical signage that's going to be touching on the region. Partly because of the village of Sacticoy, which is 6 miles downstream. We think that's still very culturally relevant to this location to discuss that area. We're going to be talking about George Adair, who's one of the quote unquote founding fathers of Ventura, who actually owned the ranch prior to the mining operation. Then we'll be talking about the mining operation and what that did to the project area and how we purchased it afterwards. And here's just some visualizations of what we've done this year. This is going to be the view from the seating area from the semicircle of the stacked gabion basket. So this is the view that the children are going to have when they're getting a lecture or when you're just sitting there having your lunch or something like that. So I think it's a pretty nice view. It's not of the river, but at least you get a nice view of the South Mountains. And this is, we were lucky enough to actually get a rain event after we did all of our grading. So we were able to see how the bioswales were working, and they functioned really well as far as retaining the water and then actually infiltrating rather quickly. So this area is going to be planted with riparian vegetation in the actual bioswale. So I would love to take any questions if you have any, and I'm going to drop in the chat a link to our website where you can sign up for the email list, take a short survey if you'd like to, and learn more about the project. And if you please sign up for the email list, that's how I'm going to send out invites for the ribbon cutting in 2023. We'd love to have you guys all there on site. So thank you so much.
Gerard has a question.
Go ahead, Gerard.
Thank you, Kat. First of all, thank you for this presentation, the status update. I mean, you've really done incredible work, and it's a beautiful project in concept. And I think it was very wise of you to engage with the community that's closest to and most likely the highest users of the natural environment that you brought into it. And you've really done a bang up job. As you know, the two of you know, we're working with you guys on the Santa Clara River SCR3 Habitat Enhancement Project, so that we can finally get something that will be complementary to the effort that you're doing throughout the river as well. So appreciate and value that partnership, and hopefully we can reach some sort of practical arrangement. As you know, our first go at it was dependent on property owners being willing, and some were not. So that's always a challenge that you probably deal with much more than I, but it's always a challenge throughout this. But just a bang up job and your presentation of it. Just a couple of questions. The elevation of the public area, is that actually essentially floodable from an event, or is that at a higher elevation that's not subject to flooding from the river?
It is still technically in the floodplain. So
there was on the map.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we actually had to move the lunch area out of Army Corps. Actually just redrew their lines. Okay. And so it was in a FEMA floodway. And so now we're out of the floodway, but we're still in the floodplain.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But from an elevation perspective, it's not that likely to be flooded, given the historical nature of flooding in terms of the base flood elevation. In the sanitary. Okay, I mean, obviously, if we have a biblical event, that's all bets are off on all of this. But I'm just curious as to where you place that. So, but it's going to be a great place to go, a great venue. So, thank you. I as a resident, as a taxpayer, as a colleague, I mean, it's just incredible. So, thanks for the update.
Thank you, Gerard.
Else? Okay, thank you so much, Kat. This is super exciting. Next up, WCVC program updates featuring Lynn Rodrigues.
Well, I can make this really short because really everything that's going on at the moment is pretty much related to collecting new project ideas, having meetings, and preparing for our round 2 application process. So we will be covering some general items with the general membership, sort of business items when we meet in September. And the steering committee will be meeting in August to have some discussions about project selection and some other business. So we have a lot on our plates for the next few months, and then we'll be seeing everybody again in August at the next meeting of the Watershed Committee. So I'm sure I'll have more to report at that meeting.
Wow, we're ahead of schedule. What's going on? So now it's our time for committee members, updates, announcements. Anybody who wants to speak or share, this is a great time to do it. Just
EJ?
raise your hand.
EJ, I'll start with one that kind of piggybacks off of a WCVC program update that we usually have. A lot of times we provide an update on the DAC program, the Disadvantaged Community Involvement Program. The only update there I think that I wanted to share, I think is noteworthy. So I can put a link to the chat, but just, I think yesterday, the day before, we had uploaded to the Water Talks website both the English and Spanish versions of fact sheets for each of our 9 disadvantaged communities in Ventura County. The fact sheet summarizes some of the findings from the community needs assessment surveys and about those communities. So we'll try to put a link to that or send that out. But that's, if you have been following along with that process, obviously there was a report put out, and there's actually now also an executive summary available for the needs assessment report. But these fact sheets are also something that those of you that work near those communities or in those communities might find useful and interesting. Also, when considering your projects, and you think about any DAC project that wants to apply for that DAC set aside and will be run through our DAC committee for review, we will be using a process for selecting those projects by looking at how each project benefits match up with the needs that the community identified. So those fact sheets you might find useful or interesting to review. And you can also look at more information. There's a dashboard as well.
Thank you, Laura. I meant to talk about that and I forgot. So thank you very much for that. And I just had one more thing I forgot to mention. We are about to go live, I hope by tomorrow, with a new website for WCVC. You'll get a notification about that. It will still be at the same URL, the watershedscoalition.org. But when you tune into that site after the weekend, there should be the new site posted. There are a few things that we still will need to transition over from the old site to the new site, and I'll be working on that over the next few months. But everything critical related to Proposition 1 and other items of interest to everybody right now, I think is on the new site. And hopefully you like it, and we will welcome your feedback and input on the look and feel and usability of it after it goes live.
And that site will have the DAC information and report and all that Laura just mentioned.
Yeah, there's a link to the Water Talks website, and I think Laura is maybe getting ready to put the link in the chat for now, but yes, there will be, and there's a page that addresses the program and has a lot of information about it. So yes, we have that there.
Okay, any other comments or updates, announcements? I'm not seeing any raised hands. And Laura just posted the website that Lynn just mentioned. Well, if that's it, we can adjourn a little bit early.
And happy 4th of July holiday, everyone.
Yeah, have a fun and safe one.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you August 25th.